Welcome to another episode of Relatively Famous, the podcast where I, Chip White, talk to relatives of famous people. And my famous relative is Vanna White of Wheel of Fortune. I'm super excited you guys are here. Vanna and I grew up in the North Myrtle Beach area of South Carolina. And if you've never been, I think you should go to visitmyrtlebeach.com and check out how to plan a vacation there. You can surf. I grew up surfing. You can play golf. We play golf there. You love seafood. You love fine food. You like good burgers, hot dogs. It's all there in Myrtle Beach. You want to have a fun family vacation. There's rides. You want some music. You can go shag dance up in North Myrtle. You can go get some great seafood in Myrtle's Inlet. You can hear some great music in Myrtle Beach. Anyway, check it out. Plan your vacation at visitmyrtlebeach.com. That's visitmyrtlebeach.com. And today's guest, I'm super excited. I just met him for the first time in our little pre-talk here. His sister is a lovely lady named Eva Mendes, and her brother today is going to be our guest, and he is Carlo Mendez.
Relatively Famous podcast with Chip White.
Carlo, welcome so much to Relatively Famous. I'm super excited to have you on today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, now you're out in LA, right?
Yes, I am, right in Hollywood, in the middle of all the craziness that you hear that's going on.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, I used to live in West Hollywood on Genesee between Sunset and Santa Monica Boulevard, way back in the day.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah, I had a friend right around that corner there.
Now I'm talking back in the '80s when the hookers were on Sunset and the hustlers were on Santa Monica. I used to joke I could go one way and spend the money and one way to make the money, but it was all a joke.
Hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
Dude's got to do. So welcome to Relatively Famous. Real quickly, give us just a little bit of family history of who your sister is and kind of the family so that viewers, I'm sure they already know, but so they have an idea.
Yeah, so my name is Carlo Mendez. One of my sisters is Eva Mendes, the actress. And we're Cuban, born here in the United States, raised of Cuban parents. So we have that heritage of our mom and dad being Cuban, which they were all born in Cuba. And my other two older sisters were born in Cuba as well. We're the ones that were born here in the States.
Now, she's had a great career and still does. She still does. I understand you're an actor also?
Yes, I am an actor. I took it up a little bit later on in life. I ended up moving to Miami. And I was just kind of like roaming around, kind of lost, even though I've always known that I wanted to be an actor since I was a kid. And long story short, I wasn't happy doing anything, and I just decided to pack my stuff up and drive from Miami to LA and start pursuing the acting.
Now, I went out to LA because of my sister, and she obviously helped me out, let me live with her for a little while, and helped me kind of get my feet on the ground. Did you just kind of go cold, or are you just kind of like, hey sis, I'm on my way?
I just kind of went cold. I didn't really try to depend on anybody in my family. I have this, it's this thing of just not depending on anybody. So I just drove out here, slept in my car for a while, slept on a couch, got a job, and just kind of like, was introduced to the life of like, you gotta make it or break it, break in, and either which way it is, just do your best and not depend on anybody, because I really don't like depending on anybody for anything.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be working. Give us a little bit of rundown. I could flip up your IMDb, but we don't really edit. So give us a rundown.
Yeah. So, the first couple of years I got here to LA, I was a little lost. I was working at Home Depot, and I was a little lost trying to find an agent manager. And there's a lot to soak up in LA. It's a very big city, and there's a lot going on all the time. So I was a little lost, but then once I kind of found my way, I started taking acting classes, got an agent, got a manager, and I started auditioning. If I remember correctly, my very first theatrical audition I got was, I booked it. It was for 90210. And I booked it. I remember shooting it, very excited. I was like in the trailer. I was like, "This is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life." Shot it, did it, whatever. And my scene never aired, and I was so bummed out. And I was like, "Oh no!" And I was like, "Is this how the industry is?" But I didn't give up, and I still don't give up. And I kept going and booked some other stuff. Booked Parks and Recreation, then just some short films, independent films, and just been working my way to get experience, get exposure, and just really study hard and and try to make a career. Not try. I'm making a career out of this industry.
Now, short films. I've produced a lot of short films. I've done film and TV for a long time too. Podcasting's new to me, but I produced a lot of short films. I love doing short films that are good. Did you find working then in short films help? Have you have some of the short films led to other work for you? Because as a producer, they ain't led anywhere from me, but for my actors and my DP, they've gotten tons of work.
Yes, you know what? Short films is a very, very great way to introduce yourself into the industry because, imagine not having an experience or anything, and then you're on if you happen to land being on a big set, it's scary. It's scary with so many moving parts and stuff like that. I'm glad that I was able to, like, little by little, just really, I had this idea in my head of just like book little things, get short films, student films, any little small things so you can move on to the big one. I'm a very neurotic person, so I get very antsy and I get anxiety and stuff like that. So I was like, I don't want to be getting big, big stuff at first in case it happens. If it would happen, I would have dealt with it. But I wanted to, just work my way up inch by inch, foot by foot into the industry so that I could learn, I could really soak it in and be the best that I can be and really work hard and study for it.
Yeah, that's great, man. Because I always thought that. Oh, I can tell you, man. Had I made it when I first went out there to LA with my sister in the '80s, dude, I'd either be dead or have burned more bridges than I did burn. I never would be working again. So I like the fact that, man, you were very level-headed and you came in and you're doing the deal. What's been some of the favorite projects that you've worked on?
Well, there's been quite a few lately. Working on Parks and Recreation was so much fun. Everybody was so amazing, so nice. Oh my God, that's one of my favorite. Working on the Rob Schneider show with the real Rob, that was also so much fun. My just recently I had my first lead in a film called Demise with Yara. That was amazing too. I love working with her and everybody in the crew. I just did Dexter, which was a lot of fun as well to do because it's a complete different character than I'm used to playing ever. It was a really dark, sinister kind of character. And so those probably have been some of my favorite. I have to go to my IMDb to remember because I've done quite a bit of projects, but those are the ones that really come to mind that I've had such a great time and so much fun doing.
Have you have to deal with any typecasting being Cuban born? Or you always do they kind of think, oh, wait, he's the great guy for that?
Yeah, yes and no. There's some where they, I'm not looked at as a funny guy, but I love comedy. So I've been lucky where I've been able to, do like Parks and Recreation or Real Rob, where I play, like I'm a little, like comedic roles, and it's written already in the words. I don't have to try very hard. I've been very lucky because I don't get typecast too much, I believe, because I've already kind of like play the bad guy or play the cop. I do get a typecast on the cop because there's another show that I do called The Bay where I play a cop. But then I can play the funny guy or I play the little bit of the crazy guy. I want to expand more. So I do sometimes I'll audition for stuff and then they'll be like, oh no, we only see them this way. But then I get lucky and book something else that's completely opposite of what I would normally get cast as.
So what was life like? So you grew up in Miami, right? What was life like for you guys as a family in Miami? Did each of you I know you're kind of like me, I didn't quite sure know what you wanted to do, but did everyone kind of have this path that they wanted to follow? Was your sister like my sister, like I'm going to Hollywood and this is what I'm going to be?
So she
What?
was more on this side on the west coast in California. I ended up being more on the east side with my mom. She I can't really speak for her, but it wasn't always in the cards for her what she wanted to do for acting. It kind of just like fell on her laps. For me, it was the opposite. For me, it was I always knew since I was a kid that's what I wanted to do is be an actor. I loved watching movies. I loved like characters and stuff like that. Watching some of my early memories is watching, Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. that to me, I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. This is so cool. And I just fell in love with movies. But living in Miami, there's not room for acting out there. It's only more like modeling or the Spanish market, at least back then when I was there. It wasn't really anything going on. And I was just, working, dead end jobs or whatever until I got, fed up. And I was like, I'm not happy here. I need to go pursue my dream because if I don't, I'm going to regret not ever doing it before I get too old or it becomes too late.
So, what advice would you have for someone who is sitting in Iowa or the UK saying, I want to be an actor? I like this guy.
Okay, so that is a tough one now because things have changed because of the pandemic. A lot of it you can do self tapes, but I still personally, in my opinion, think if you're starting out, you have to be living in LA. You get a co-star role or something like that. Most of the time, they're not going to fly you out for something like that. In case you have a callback and it's in person, you live right here. This is where it's at. This is where the acting class is at. This is where your acting peers are at. You have to surround yourself by like-minded people and to pursue it. And here in LA, I mean, anywhere and everywhere you go, there's an actor or there's an acting class. You throw a rock and you're going to land somewhere that's got something to do with acting. So in my opinion, it's very important to be living here. Now, once you're established and you're an A-list star, whatever, you can live anywhere in the world, the work comes to you. But in the beginning, the work is not going to come to you. You have to go to the work. You have to take acting classes, start doing, student films, short films, and working your way up on that ladder, getting to know casting directors, going in networks. Networking is such a huge part of this industry. So I've heard other actors say, oh, now you can do acting from anywhere in the world. If you think you can, by all means, more power to you. But going to networking functions, acting functions, it's very important. And that usually just happens here in LA.
Going back to your family quick, I know that you said it was quite, I think, 2 or 3 sisters, and you guys had a brother who passed away, right? Yeah. Tell us just a little bit about that, because people don't want to talk about sometimes, but there's someone else out there whose brother just passed, and to hear how you dealt with it, it helps
so
him.
my brother, he was older than me. Same name, Carlos Mendez. We would call him John. It was John Carlos, but some people call him Carlos, some John, but we would call him John. Passed away in 2016 from cancer, throat cancer. That was really devastating because it was like the first big death in the family, that we had. And I was really close to my brother, having 5 sisters and all. And it was heartbreaking because he was the glue. Like, he was just so smart, so amazing, so funny. Had his quirkiness and craziness and his mentality of certain things. But it just sucks because being so close to a relative, a brother or sister, and then all of a sudden they're here and then they're not. It puts things in perspective in life, and it's something that me personally, I'll never get over. You just learn how to deal with it on day to day. There's days where I have good days where I'm like, I know he's looking over on me and my sisters, and there's days where I just break down and I'm like, oh, I can't keep going without him. But I just know that one day we'll meet each other again, and we got to keep going in life and make our relatives that have passed away, make them proud, because this is all we got, this one life.
As a family, have you guys ever been able to go back to Cuba and meet relatives there, kind of see where your parents came from?
No, because Cuba, it's a communist country and stuff. Like, I've never been to Cuba. Being born here, raised in Miami, with Cuban parents, never been back. I do want to visit. I don't know what to expect. I do have family there still, mostly on my dad's side. It'd be nice to go visit and see what's going on, how the life that is there, because everybody that's ever visited Cuba has always told me that it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's grand. But I know there's a lot of misery. I know there's a lot of despair and everything there. So it's something that I have to plan out very well, because I kind of have a big mouth, in the sense of, like, if I see the military police there, knowing it's a communist country, I'm like, screw you, Mr. Military Police, and they're gonna kick me out, because I'm be like, how can you guys allow this to happen to your people? So I'd have to control my temper, my attitude, and not telling off all the people that are there that are for the communism. So I have to, like, really tone it down.
Yeah.
But I do want to go visit and see my heritage.
Yeah, it's on my list. I'd love to go for several reasons. To see the cars that are still there, the food, the people. Like you, it'd be hard to keep my mouth shut because it's not that they'll kick you out; it's that they'll hide you in. That scares me.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to. We still got some time. What is different now for you since you've had some success in LA and Hollywood? What's different now? Do you get recognized? Or are you finding things easier? Have you moved from the West Side to the Hollywood side? I mean,
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. I really don't feel like I've had the success that I want yet. Sometimes, yes, because I still work at night. I still bartend, right? So I'll do my acting during the day, go out of town, whatever, and come back and bartend at night. Like when I did Parks and Recreation and it aired, I remember I was at the bar and people recognized me, like, "Oh my God, you're from Parks." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And then I was like, "Yeah, so what would you like to drink? What can I make you?" Type of thing. So the success that I find is a success every time I book something. That's a little win for me, a little success, a little step forward because I get the experience, I get the exposure, what I want, and I become better and I really work hard towards what I want to do and make this a career. So little successes have been in booking. I don't really get recognized every once in a while, maybe for parks or for other stuff, or like my movie Demise that came out and on the platforms. It's been getting a lot of views. So I will get, oh yeah, hey, what's up, man? I've seen you, but it's more about what I want is if people recognize me, I want them to be like, hey, great job on acting. I really want to do a great job. I really want to be a great actor. I really want to put on a show, a performance so that people can watch it. But I know greater and bigger things are coming. Is just it takes time, like anything, especially in this career where it just like they say, 15 years of overnight success, as long as that's how long it takes.
yeah, and you've got a great attitude about it. It's I won't say I'm riding my sister's coattails, but hey, the podcast is a Van White's brother. Hey, but like we've had Morgan Freeman's son on, and the guy is a great actor, and he's for him it's even tougher because he looks and sounds like his dad.
Ooh.
So he's trying to make his own way, and he's got these kind of like a little tougher role because it's like, oh well, that's Morgan Freeman's son, and you can look and you can see it. At least you don't look like your sister.
Yeah, I've been told that I do, but you would never, unless you really look at it, I guess, and really, oh, I can see it if you're specifically told who my sister is.
Yeah, well, I meant genetically or biologically anyway. So what have been some of the funnest things that have happened to you since your journey to Hollywood? Because when I moved out in the 80s and stuff, I mean, I've met some amazing people. I've been to some crazy parties, and sometimes I forget that I've met people or what has been something very memorable for you?
I don't know if I have that many memorable moments in the sense of like going to parties and stuff like that. I'm not much of a partier. But I guess memorable moments for me would be just, when I do get random people that come up to me. And it's happened a lot more lately because of, my movie Demise and a couple of things and social media. People come up to me and just say, hey, man, good job on this. I really liked your film. I like your acting. Or they'll reach out via social media. Those are the memorable moments that people recognize my work. And I guess as an actor, I don't know, I can't speak for every actor, but it's nice being recognized for your work as an actor, because if you don't get recognized for that, who's watching it, there's, you really don't have any, how can I say, you don't know if you're doing a good job, I guess, or, it just feels good. So I would say that just people recognize me little by little here and there, and then saying that, they appreciate the work that I've done so far.
So growing up like you, I loved movies. I was a movie buff, and I still do. I remember, and I've always been try to be conscious of not invading a celebrity space, even no matter where. So I try to do that. But I was at a party, and Gene Kelly was there, and so I had to go up and introduce myself. And he was super nice. We talked. It was a New Year's Eve party at Alana Stewart's house. And is there a famous actor, a film that star that you grew up with that you've met or that you really want to meet? Or has it been that moment where you weren't sure to say something, but have you had a chance to meet your icon, your celebrity icon?
I'll tell you this. One of my brother's favorite comedians was Rob Schneider. And my brother passed away about a year and a half or a year or so before I booked a show. And I've always loved Rob Schneider. I mean, watching him and Deuce Bigelow and then the Judge Dredd movie and stuff like that. He was one of the ones I'm like, man, it would be amazing to work with him one day. So I would say working with him was pretty amazing and awesome because he really is. He's great. He's funny. He directed, produced, and wrote it. And it was really nice to work with somebody that I saw growing up. I'm like, oh my God, watching in the movies. And it's kind of surreal at that moment, at that time, to be like, wow, this is awesome that I'm working with him. In regards of other actors, so at the bar that I work at, through the first, few years, we had a slew of celebrities walk in. We've had Brad Pitt walk in, Will Smith, Joaquin Phoenix. And these are all guys that I admired watching growing up. For the most part, because I'm bartending, I have, kind of like introduced myself, but, like anything, they're still human. You give them their space and time and everything. But it was really nice seeing them in person, connecting with them and just being like, wow, these are the people standing in front of you that one day I could be working with. And it's kind of surreal that one day, I can cross paths with them again, but on a professional level, working in the industry.
Yeah. I learned from years of different things of being around. It's like, okay, so if I'm at a party that I've been invited to and Gene Kelly's there, it's okay to go talk to him. If I'm playing in a golf tournament and Robert Stack is there and I'm playing with Robert, it's okay to have these conversations. And I'm not as scared as when, like, going, as you said, you're at bartending, it's different, or you're at a restaurant interrupting someone's dinner. So I always tell people that are coming on the business, like, look, if you're somewhere that you've been invited, and if Brad Pitt's there, you have the opportunity to talk to him because you both are in this place that you were invited.
Yeah. And read the room, the energy never lies. Read the room, you figure out the energy, how they're feeling. You see if they're like open to invitation, because again, actors are human. Sometimes they're just a little closed off, or they get anxiety, or they don't want to meet people, but they're there on obligation. It all depends, but I've never had a bad experience with any, and I've met quite a few famous actors, especially being at the bar that I work at. I've never had a bad experience, but it's like, like you said, if you're invited there and you just read the room, the energy, and, go up to them and invite, introduce yourself and talk to them. And most of the time, I think it'll be a great experience. One of the other actors that I loved working with that I met years before was Tom Sizemore. He was great. He's awesome. He's been in some of my favorite movies of all time. Sadly enough, he passed away a couple years ago already. But he was a fun one to be on set. I had met him years prior. He didn't remember, but it was a funny interaction between him and I. He was a good one. He was awesome, and may he rest. But he was one of my favorite too. Growing up.
Yeah. Well, now after being on this podcast, all the celebrities are going to come at you and go, "Hey, Carlo, I saw you on Relatively Famous." No, just kidding. What's the dream
Come
project?
Come up to me. I don't mind. The more the better. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, that's me, man. If you see me out in public and you come up to me and say, "Hey, I've listened to your podcast," I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
What's your dream project? What's your dream role?
Ooh, very good question. I want to play something that you would never, ever think of seeing me in. My dream role would be something like where I shave my hair off, maybe, get a bunch of fake tattoos on me, something that would definitely play against my type. I really want to challenge myself. I really want something that you'd be like, wait, was that Carlo Mendez? Was that unrecognizable? A couple of roles that come to mind, and I remember in The Sixth Sense in the beginning, that was Donnie Wahlberg. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
In the scene, or in Carlito's Way, Sean Penn with the big hair, I didn't recognize him either. Or Garrett Hedlund in the movie Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon. He was all shaved up and tattoos and stuff like that. I didn't recognize him either. I want something challenging, something different, something out of the ordinary, out of the box. Because so far, almost everything I've gotten so far has been very kind of almost tailored to me in the sense of like just the way I look and stuff like that. But I really want to challenge myself to something completely different that plays against my looks.
So, short film, write the script yourself, write the part that you want, the look that you want, make a short film, and then you have this calling card where people go, oh, wait a minute. And do it under an assumed name so they wait, who is that guy? And then when you win awards for it, they'll go, oh wait, that's Carlo. So
yeah.
Anyway, our time is up, but I do want to ask, what I always like to end on is there a question I didn't ask you or something you really want to share that we didn't talk about?
No, we kind of, touched on it. What kind of role I would like, what is my advice about giving about acting. I always like, just supporting people and giving great advice, or giving the best advice that I can. And for anybody out there, and not just for acting, but anybody who's wanting to pursue acting or anything in life, right now it's hard times, it's scary times, it's unknown times, but don't give up, work hard, figure things out, make a plan, strategize, and work on yourself and your dream every single day, because we don't know what the future holds, and the best way to create the future for yourself is to plan on it and figure it out. And my 3 favorite words specifically about this industry, but it can probably fit in life, is you never know. You never know what can happen tomorrow. You never know what can happen tonight, tomorrow. You could be here today, and tomorrow you're living your dream out and realizing everything that you want.
That's true. And I always tell people too, it's like, look, the Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation, I feel is very true. If there's anyone you want to meet, you're only 6 people away from them. If you ask. Bless
yep,
you.
100%. Yeah.
If you ask, it's like, hey, I want to meet so-and-so. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Same with what you're saying. Keep pursuing it. Well, Carlo,
and one last thing, speak it into existence. Be very specific on what you want. Speak it into existence. Walking around by yourself, if somebody sees you and they think you're crazy, that's fine. We're all a little crazy. And if we're not crazy, we're not making things happen. But speak it into existence and just go for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being a guest today. This has been terrific. And I look forward to seeing your career expand. And you know what? When you're super famous, you can come back on and go, I got my start at Relatively Famous. No,
there you go. 100%. Tell me, and please, we'll stay in touch.
Well, appreciate it. Thank you for your time today. Carlo Mendez. That was fantastic, man. What an inspiring young man he is, man, and great words of wisdom, especially for people who want to get into the business. Carlo, thank you for being our guest today. And I want to thank you, the viewer, the listener. Look, I'm very humbled that you will spend your time with us. I hope that you will tell your family, friends, acquaintances, coworkers, strangers about our podcast, that you'll like us, you'll subscribe to us, you'll help us grow our podcast. If you happen to know someone related to a famous person, could be sports, TV, film, art, science, politics, music, reach out to us. Podcasts, relativelyfamous@gmail.com. And let's get in touch. Or if you are a relative of someone famous, reach out to us. I want to thank our sponsor. That's visitmyrtlebeach.com. Go check out my hometown and Vanna's hometown by going to visitmyrtlebeach.com. Plan your family golf beach vacation at visitmyrtlebeach.com. I want to thank Nelco Media for making this happen. And I want to thank Nelco Comics here in San Antonio for this amazing location. And dang, I meant to talk to Carlo about comic books next time.
You've been listening to Relatively Famous with Chip White. Please like and subscribe to Relatively Famous with Chip White.